Hello and welcome back to the Courtroom Advocate channel. My name is Miriam Washira. When I started practicing as a children's advocate, one of the things that I was taught is that everyone is a suspect and I should treat everyone as a suspect. I thought it was odd that I should treat everyone as a suspect, and especially when it comes to children matter. And initially, I was thinking, no, it's just one of those myths or cliche that people use. But in the course of my practice, I actually realized it is true that everybody is a suspect, and the person you'd think your child is safe with could be the most unsafe person to be with. Um, I learned this through two cases that I handled with my other colleagues. One was of a young girl who was about 8 years, who was being abused by the father. When the mother learned of the abuse, she got the news with disbelief because she thought that this was the most upright man that she knew. She knew him as a very loving father who really cared deeply, according to her, about the welfare of their children. And for her, she could not fathom that he could actually hurt their children. So this particular man was so loving and so involved in the daughter's life, this young girl's life, that the mother thought that she was lucky that she had a very loving and involved father. But in the process, the loving and the caring was actually abusive. So the father sometimes would come pick up the child in the evening and say, I want to take you for a drive, let's go have our time together. And when they went out, the father started grooming the child for abuse. Grooming is where you teach the child that a bad touch is a good touch, slowly, when they say, you're my mother, and I breastfed on my mother, so could I touch your breast because now you're my mother. Some will say, you are named after my wife, so you're my wife. So they start saying, because you're my wife, I can hug you, I can touch you, I can so it's grooming. It's most of the children who are abused are not abused, and especially by very close persons, they're not abused at once. It starts very, very slowly with the child being shown a lot of love and the grooming and being shown that touching or whatever is happening is normal, and it's actually most of the time quoted as loving, as caring. So the children will not realize until when it is too far gone. So in this instance, the dad would pick the child, they go out for drives, and then he would go park somewhere in a parking lot, and he would start touching the girl and telling her the way he loves her. And after that, he will go buy her whatever the girl wanted, and so with time it became normal until now he started doing it at night. So he took up the duty of putting the girl to bed. So when it was bedtime, he was the one to take the girl to bed and read bedtime stories. And while he was doing that, he continued assaulting the girl, touching her genitals, and so and it went on. And now he started encouraging the girl even to touch his genitals, and it went all the way to now full defilement, and to the extent that he actually penetrated the girl. So it was so planned and so smooth and over time. It was not something that he just woke up one day and did. This was so well planned, and the grooming was there. So this particular child did not actually confine to the mother. He confided to an aunt. And it was such a bad case because first, even the mother was still struggling to accept it. She had so many doubts. But also the most heartbreaking thing is that now when he thought, okay, we need help, we need to report this. When the mother reported the matter, the family of the man turned against her, and now she became like the bad one. They started threatening her. She was ostracized, and she had a really hard time dealing with this matter, and all of a sudden the marriage has broken down in ways that she had not foreseen. So it was a very difficult matter, but also even helping this child to tell the story. But for her, amazingly, when the child was telling the story, she thought it was such a casual thing and an okay thing. Actually, when she confided to the aunt, she thought she was telling her a very interesting story. And this is because of the grooming, that this girl had been convinced this is what happens, this is what fathers do to their children, and so she was quite okay with it. So it was one of those very hard matters. Unfortunately, the father never got conviction, and the court said there was lack of enough evidence. But you see, it was so well hidden. You know, he knew what he was doing. He knew how to groom these girls. He knew how to cover up all his steps and all that. And also the mother was not so keen because he thought this was a loving dad, so she never really interfered. So that saying or that teaching that I got when I started that everybody is a suspect came live to me. Also in another story where a boy was brought in for abusing his brothers, younger brothers. So when we went to the bottom of the matter and asked him, why would you, you know, he was actually sodomizing his younger brothers. And how the matter came up is actually now when a cousin came visiting them, he sodomized the cousin, and now the cousin reported to the parents, and it became a court case. And the question was, where did you learn this? And actually said, but that is what daddy does to me every time he comes to put me into bed. So for him also, this was what men do to each other, you know. And it was also a very heartbreaking matter, because where it's the other parent that is involved, it becomes a family matter that is really hard to deal with. I know most people will be thinking, are you saying now we live in suspicion? But if you go back to my videos, there's a video I've done about the telltale signs. Could you start looking out for your children? And it doesn't have, you have to start accusing your parents, if your partner, if they're putting the kids to bed. But it's also good to know exactly what happens. You know, you could even ask the child, what when dad is putting you to bed, or when even mommy is putting you to bed, what do? You know, give children a leeway. Ask a question gives them a leeway to talk out, and it may tell you something that is happening, and we could avoid a lot of things that happens. So for the boy, it was a heartbreaking matter, because now the complainant is also the brother and the cousin. You can imagine this family even dealing with the matter. You know, this is now sister to sister in court, because these are their children. It's a hard matter. But the bottom line and the lesson to this one, yes, treat everyone as a suspect. That favorite uncle, that favorite aunt, what makes them favorite? Why do you like them? Why do you like visiting them? What happens? You know, just get to know to the bottom. Get to know your child really close, because unfortunately, the people we think are the ones to guard our children, the people we trust, are the people that actually are abusing the children. Also, don't be afraid to report. Actually, what I've also found is that most parents also, why children are not telling you what is happening, because you doubt, you know. Like for that mother, for the girl, you know, she thought that this was a loving father, and what was happening was okay. And even it took her quite a long time to agree and to admit that actually this happened. She really doubted it, and you know, and of course for children, when you start doubting, they'll change the stories and so forth. So trust your child, believe your child, especially when it comes to matters of abuse. Don't be the parent that says, what are you even talking? Some even end up beating the child, and the child is just coming to express to you what is happening. So don't tell your child, isn't tabia mbaya, where are you even thinking like that? It's because they have, if they're talking about it, they have experienced it, or they know about it. So as a parent, it's for you to take the steps to ensure that you protect that child, even with the knowledge they have, that you protect them. But as you live, look at everybody as a suspect, and especially when you see telltale signs, you have to think, why is this happening? Why is it happening? Thank you, and look out for the next video.